welcome everyone. We're going to have some fun tonight, something a little bit different, and I think you're going to enjoy it. This is meant to be kind of a learn from absorbing the big picture of what's going on with some people that have some great stories. There are some phenomenal leaders that just happen to be on my team, and that's why I know their story and why we're going to do the call tonight, so we can kind of look for some common elements of success. Do I still have Kim and Tony and Dave, John, and Tom on the line here?
Tom here.
Tony, Tim.
I'm here. David's on.
John here.
Tim's here.
All right. Tony?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. All right, well, I'll just, if you're brand new to this and this is one of your first times you've listened to the Zango story, we're not going to get into a lot of details tonight about exactly what our product is or what it does to people, but we're going to be coming from the angle of what our business can do to someone's life and why people are interested in our business and what's happening when people grab a hold of our business and really go for it. And so that's going to be a little different tonight. So if you're here tonight to find out about the basics of Zango, you'll have to kind of get some of that after the call, but I think you're going to get a lot out of it anyway. If you've been around the Zango story for a little bit, I think one of the things that we would all say is true no matter what level we're at is we wish things were going faster. I think that's universal for everyone, whether you're a 0K or a 500K. But listen for some things here that you might be able to use that may be able to be put into place for yourself or some of the people on your team, or what you could be looking for leaders in your team. Okay, I'll get my technology going here. In case you've never had a chance to meet personally with me, which is a very good chance considering I live where not many other people are. This is what I look like. Upper left-hand picture on the one on the left, that's my wife on the right, and I'm married up. And we'll be talking about recruiting up tonight, but I'm married up. And we have 4 little boys there on the right-hand upper picture, and a little girl, Hannah, came along last. And they're on the other end of the house, and we just moved into a new house out in the country, and my office doesn't have a door on it yet. So if you hear some strange noise in the background, don't be alarmed. That's highly expected in my house because they might escape. They're watching a movie, but you never know what will happen. So I'll warn you ahead of time. And one of the things that you probably want to do tonight is listen as a teacher, not necessarily a student. There's going to be some things you want to listen to for how could I utilize this? How could I grab some of this? And how could I take some of these common elements of success that are causing success in Zango and teach them and or look for them and reinforce them in my group? So that's kind of an angle you want to look at, and maybe have a pen and paper ready in case something occurs to you that you want to make sure you grab. So we're going to go through a couple stories here, 5 different people's stories, and then at the end we're going to kind of recap what are some of the common things you could have or should have noticed throughout those. And there's actually 9 different things that you're probably going to hear or want to take a look at as we go. But the first up here is Dr. David Portman. I'll let him tell a lot of his story, but Dr. Portman was the first person I brought Zango to once I decided I was curious enough to start looking. I was half hoping he'd talk me out of it, hoping that he'd tell me the product really was just not all it was cracked up to be. It was just too good to be true, and it really wasn't true. But he said something quite the opposite, and therefore we decided to go to work together on this. And David, why don't you jump on in here and kind of give us a little clue of when you got started and what that was like, what kind of first you got you interested in the Zango story.
Sure thing. Yeah, it was about 3 years ago, actually. I'm sitting in the kitchen here where Eric, you had come on over and plopped the first bottle of Zango that I'd ever seen on the counter and said, well, here it is, take a look at this. And that's kind of where it all began. And I remember tasting it, and it tasted real good. And after hearing just a little bit about what you had told me about the product itself, I wanted to do a little research, obviously. But one of the things that caught my attention right from the beginning was the anti-inflammatory aspect of it. And we talk a lot about that, but that was something that really made a big impression on me. And I caught it right off the bat because going through school and in dealing with people day in and day out, one of the things that we see every day as a chiropractor is pain. And along with that goes inflammation. And so I know along with that, some of the underlying kind of the common denominator that inflammation has when you're talking about other common diseases like heart disease, even cancers, diabetes, and the antihistamine part of it. And so the product was a real, the overall idea of the product just kind of struck me as very intriguing. And I thought, boy, when I'm talking to people about different nutritional things, I have to go into, 3, 4, 5, sometimes more different products to be able to explain to them how I can help them with their health. And when I looked at this, I thought, wow, this kind of takes care of a lot of that all in one good tasting, actually, product. So for me, it was the product. It's a lot of what we hear people say, as far as having a good product baseline, I guess. But one of the other things besides the product I wanted to kind of touch on was when you had come to me and in talking the first few times, one of the things that I really started to catch on to wasn't anything that you actually even had said. It was just there was something about you had said you kind of decided to go forward with this as sort of a business or take some initiative with the business side of it. And there was something about, how you approached me and when you said, this is what we're going to have, and we kind of had a plan here of how we're going to go forward. And I could tell that, you were going to be committed to doing this. And I thought, boy, okay, I'm a pretty busy person. We have, in the picture there, 2 kids. We have a third. I got introduced to this right after the birth of our second there. But I knew I was going to need help, and I knew I was going to need someone who was going to be very committed to it. And so that was one of the things that really interested me. And I thought, I could see that you were going to offer that. So that was real important to me too. Do you want me to kind of go ahead? You had just a couple of questions we had.
Yeah, well, actually, I had my phone muted there. I didn't notice it. But so when you were looking at this, the business side of it came secondary to the product, but the business side to you was what was intriguing to you about the business side beyond the obvious thing is that you saw people who could use our product. You were looking at it from beyond just sharing it with your patient's perspective, correct?
Yeah, exactly. The thing that got me is, I've heard of other business models, and I thought, boy, with this product, and knowing what it can do and knowing who it can help, which is anybody, people tend to talk about their health conditions. And if they're excited about that, just like when they're excited about coming in to get adjusted and seeing themselves feel better, they share that with other people, and then those other people come into the office, and that's how we built the majority of my chiropractic practice. So I was kind of thinking of it in terms of the product, but as I thought about it in terms of the business, I thought, boy, people are going to be excited about this, and the only way that they're going to be able to get a hold of it is through word of mouth. And so we ended up thinking, if I can just get this out to some people, have it get in their system and see what it can do for them, they're going to be more than willing oftentimes to share this with other people. And that was important because I thought, not having a whole lot of time with family and work, I thought this could really work, is what I actually thought.
So when you started, and here's kind of your story, getting involved. Your mom, Mary Portman, got involved. She had a life-changing story right before our eyes, made us all believers because it was someone we saw. And I guess I wanted to point that out is that when we started getting people on the product, it started to escalate because the product does what it's going to do, and it creates its own set of rules, so to speak, as things start to go. And so we quickly became believers in the product, latched onto the business. I guess what I wanted to ask you is, what did you do once you made the decision? Okay, I'm going to pursue this as a business. What happened then? What did you do?
Well, there were a bunch of people that I had in mind that I knew needed to get this product to, and so whether or not we made this conscious decision or not, I just started, talking to people, and really in the beginning, the majority of them were people who I thought needed this product. So from a product perspective, but there are also people, a colleague of mine, another chiropractor, Dr. Kevin Simons, who I sat down with at a restaurant right next to his practice, and I said, just like what I had said here in the beginning of this call, Kevin, what do you think, what is it that we see next to people who come in with the actual subluxation that we treat? What's the next most common thing? And so the answer is pain, and along with that, inflammation. And so that's kind of what triggered it. So with him, I actually ended up approaching him more about the business and having him be able to share this in his practice as well. So I recall back to that time, and I actually started journaling and logging. In the first 30 days, I recorded 60 people that I had talked to. And that was a real neat thing to be able to track. I kind of like to be able to track progress and things like that, so that was helpful for me. But also, it's neat to go back to that and say, okay, of these people, here are the people, and a lot of those people in those first 60 names are still with the business today and doing quite well, actually.
Yeah, there's a huge list of them, actually. But so if you had to give a short description of okay, here, I'll back up because we didn't do this part. What happened? You went in, became 1K, 5K, you're now a Premier, but what pace did that happen in the beginning? When did you hit 5K?
Boy, I don't know if I necessarily kept track. Is it 4 months or something like that? 5 months? 6 months?
Well, you were 20K within 5 months because you were a 20K that put me to Premier in my 5th month. So
fair enough.
I think it was your third month.
3 months.
Yeah, I think
it was about half of that.
Third month, and then it just started escalating from there, and you hit 20K, and so this is I hit Premier in 5 months, but when you have really good people that you bring in, they make you look good, and you going 20K in obviously 5 months or less, easily within 5 months, made me get to be the smart guy that hit Premier. So as things have gone on, you've got a large group, things are going good, you're making a very fun living on the side of being a chiropractor, and one of the things that we hear people talking about is working depth, spotting sparkles is what Bob Schmidt says, and we spotted a sparkle a few months, or not even barely a few months ago, a few weeks ago, more like, and why don't you introduce who that is, because that's actually our next guest, and you can kind of tell a little story there.
Absolutely. I don't want to take too much time away because I think John Young here, who's coming up, is the person you're talking about, and that's somebody who's going to bring a whole lot of energy to this call, for one, and really any time that you're in conversation with him, it's a whole lot of fun being around him because of that energy and that enthusiasm that he shares. He's off to a raging start here and has a lot of the same things, looking back on it, that we had. A lot of good product testimonials coming through, a lot of good business testimonials coming through already. And so I just want to introduce John, and actually right now just say thanks, John, for everything that you've offered us here. I feel like every time I get a chance to talk to you, I get to take a little bit of piece of what I'm learning out of our conversation there. So that's always something I look forward to. So John, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, but you're going to have to give me a minute to pull myself down out of the clouds here. You've been very, very complimentary here, and that's only because I've been very, very fortunate to have just an awesome upline group of people right from the beginning that somehow set a standard for me that I just had to live up to. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just the good Lord looking out for me and commanded a little attention from you and that awesome Eric guy and coached me into something that is absolutely changing my life. So let me just share real quickly here how it all began, because I was a consultant doing nutrition consulting for an agricultural firm. And I enjoyed my work, and I enjoy the relationships with people. And I had this awesome client, Joe Wabernick, and I never stepped onto the farm, seldom got a word in when he wasn't talking about trying to improve my well-being and my health. And so he established himself as a very creditable person with me. We had a great relationship, and he started working on me about drinking soda. He says, John, you absolutely got to quit drinking that stuff. It's going to clog your arteries, et cetera, et cetera. At that time, I had no idea where all of that background, that enthusiasm, that passion was coming from. Later learned that a lot of that was coming from his Zango commitment, his involvement with the Zango business and Zango leaders. But anyway, one thing led to another, and incidentally, I haven't had a soda in 8 months. So Joe Walvernick, my sponsor, was absolutely awesome in changing my well-being without the Zango business. Okay, so the Zango business, he's on to me about going to a meeting on a Wednesday night, and I said, Joe, I can't do that. I help with religious formation every Wednesday night. If you do something on a Tuesday, I come up into the Green Bay area every Tuesday, do something on a Tuesday, I'll be there. He says, and of course, Joe, he doesn't miss any opportunity. He says, John, how about next week on a Tuesday? We'll have a home party at my place. So he capitalizes on that. So I'm there, and this awesome individual, Darlene Gauger, who I later learned that her husband and I had worked together 5-6 years ago. She goes through the presentation. Because of the credibility of Joe and because Darlene is such a personal person, I don't think she was halfway through the presentation, and I was already into the Zango. I wanted that for myself. Joe had set the stage in terms of my well-being, and I needed to focus on greater health and so forth. And I'm a grandfather to 20 grandkids. I have 7 children. I live a life for my children, my grandchildren, because I enjoy spending life with them. And I want to be around a long time. And so when he spoke about this and Darlene introduced, I got involved. But you know what? Those of you that are listening to some training, I'm a green personality, okay? I'm an analytical person. So you know what happened between November 6th and the 16th of January? I'm sitting back there. I'm a naysayer. I got to check this thing out to the nth degree. I got to check all the numbers. I've got to check all the research. I've got to check absolutely every website. I've got to go to 4 or 5 meetings, and I went through all of that. But unfortunately, inside of me, there's a whole bunch of streaks of red. Those of you that are reds, you understand that. There's a bit of boldness and temperament, and you got to do things your own way. Well, I don't think those two were good for me because I would never, ever advise anyone to go through what I went through. I wasted a huge amount of time in terms of my well-being, my children and my grandchildren, and so many friends that we have now in the business. So that's how it all came. And it was because really that, first of all, I liked Joe. I trusted him because he worked. He was concerned about me. He had a personal relationship with me and impressed me as being concerned about me. And he seemed to know what he was talking about it. But when he got me finally then to go to one of Eric's seminars to sit down with Mary, Dr. Portman's mother, and I realized, wow, these people really know what they're talking about. So it was, I liked the guy, I trusted him, and then the expertise came from the upline. Holy mackerel, I was in. Well, then back to this issue of catching some identity, and again, I firmly believe that the Lord was looking out for us. We had went through some huge trauma in our lives over the past couple of years, and I think the Lord finally said that, this couple have persevered. This is something that they need for themselves. So we as a result of Eric and Dr. Portman's coaching, and you got to keep in mind, when they sat down with me, I had not signed a single person. The day that we sat down, I signed my first person, which is the 16th of January. It was just a few weeks. We went from being 1Ks on to being 5Ks, and today I've been in, as Eric says, weeks, not months. We're at about 10,000 volume at this particular point. And some months ago, we set, I shouldn't say some weeks ago, we set as a goal to be premier by December 31st, 2008. We made that very public. We absolutely set goals. We went back in and we sat down, okay, if we need to be at premier December 31st, 2008, how many distributors got? Well, there's some debate between 500 and 625. So we settled in. We put an absolute number down. Okay, if we got to be there, where do we have to be by November 30th, October 31st, et cetera? And then Eric was really good.
Hey, John, let me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was going to bring up, you hit 5K in 6 weeks, and if you were a little more excited and a little more, if you're having more fun with this business and you're a little more excited, you probably could have did it in 5 weeks. But I just wanted to come back to, okay, so you made a decision to do the business. You have a reason to do the business. Let's just skip ahead to this one. Where would you put Zango in your life long term based on your, a couple weeks in the business? What are you seeing so far has happened, and then where do you see this going for you as a newer person to the Zango story?
Think about that and just take a breath here, because thanks for getting me to take a breath. It absolutely has commanded our utmost attention as being our opportunity to share with our children and grandchildren all the things we've dreamed about. As some of you know, we took a great big dairy barn and we made it into our home. And I'll be very open. We went back to the bank and borrowed another $90,000 upon what we had intended to spend. Then we went back and found out that didn't do it. So we spent quite a bit of money making this dairy barn into a home. But my grandkids are making Grandpa's dream real because they told their mom, she has 6 children, that we want to go to Granny and Papa's resort. They want to go to our home. They're calling this a resort because there's basketball, there's some volleyball and stuff there. Not that it's elite. It isn't fancy.
You got a big payment to pay off. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, and that's what someone said. And you're going to pay for this with Zango? And I said, you betcha. Every bit of it's getting paid with Zango. I doubt that very few dollars will be paid on that except Zango dollars.
And I'm looking forward to seeing it. Thursday night, John's having a home party. We're probably going to have upwards of 50-plus people at his home party. So we're going to break it in good, Zango style for sure. So here's one of the things I wanted to point out. So obviously John is someone who had done things in the past, but he noticed a serious business intention of the people that were taking this business seriously. He could feel that, and it attracted him to investigate. It took a while, but as we all know with the Zango story, investigating isn't a problem because there's no holes to poke in this thing. That's why we can ask people, go ahead and ask the tough questions and really try to look under the rug and see if there's anything under there, because it's great. I love it when people go searching because we know what they're going to find. So. All right, well, thanks, John. We're going to keep going here, and we'll come back to some things at the end. You can feel to chime in. So I'm trying to give everyone a flavor of different places people come from, different flavors of what attracts them, but there's some common elements that you'll notice as we go through this. So next one here, Kim Tecklin, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
All right, Kim, you're also from the Wisconsin area. I'm sure that's no big surprise to anyone that I'd be talking to people from Wisconsin here, but when did you get first started? What got you interested in Zango, and what kind of happened in the early stages, and then we'll talk about what's happened since.
Well, Eric, when I first got introduced to the Zango product, I took it and I was very skeptical, and come to find out, it helped lower my blood pressure and high cholesterol, and to my surprise, I am a type 2 diabetic the Zango really helped lower that also. So it's been very good for me. When I first started I had diabetic cramps in my legs, which I would get while sleeping, and it took care of those within 3 days of first trying it, just drinking 1 ounce a day. So that was, I was sold on it right away, and it just kind of took off as a business, and as I talked to you about getting into the business, you were very helpful. You're great upline, so you had all the right answers for us. So getting started into the business was very easy.
Well, if I remember correctly, though, your initial response was, I'm interested in getting some of the product because you're already getting results. Had no interest in the business. You already had a busy job and a side business you're already doing, and had absolutely no interest in doing something like this. So so you were a believer in the product. which is very common. What triggered the shift from I like this product, I'll use it for my health and my family's sake, to I need to build this as a business and treat this seriously? What were some of the things that happened to make that transfer?
Well, I just started sharing the product with my family and friends, and they started getting results, and we signed the family and friends up, and all of a sudden I started getting these checks coming in the mail, and I said, wow, this is pretty easy. And after 28 years of laying carpeting, and I'm 52 years old now, I decided that, I'm getting old enough. I wanted to start something new, and Zango just became an easy fit.
So when you were, had you ever done anything like this before?
No, I've never been in a multi-level market before.
And so I remember early on, one of the things that Kim is very good at, even though he doesn't purport himself to like sales, he's a great storyteller. And if you stand still long enough, he'll get into some kind of story with you. And Kim makes strangers of people every week and just tells stories, and he's got a great story to tell on the product, which isn't uncommon in Zango. So he's very good at telling his product story, and he's got people curious all the time about what's going on. So, Kim, you've hit the level of 20K, and your wife has been able to retire from that, correct?
Yes, she worked at an insurance company for about 15 years, and after several months, we kind of looked at this as a real business. I said, well, the Zango already kind of took over the wife's salary at the insurance company, and I said, well, why don't you stay home at work? And she didn't take too long to decide that might be a good idea.
It wasn't a big fight on your hands, huh?
No.
So so you had never done this before. You decided I want to do this as a business. What were some of the things that you did in order to equip yourself to do this as a business? What did you do that got you in a position where you knew how to do something or had some success early on?
Well, we had some good training from our upline, and I think that's a big factor that helped us get started. We got on a 2K ADP right away, and I started listening and being coachable, which was pretty much hard for me because I coached football for 19 years, and so I was always the coach. And so I'm still learning, and I have good business partners, and they we share a lot of things together. We get together with meetings, and it's also created a lot of new friends.
So your business builders that you have on board were strangers, or were they people you knew?
Sometimes they're strangers, and it depends on the person. I had a truck driver one time that visited the mill, and I just started, telling him what the product did for me, and he got interested. And a couple months later, I had given him a website that day, and a couple months later, he signed up on his own. And and he was a perfect stranger. And now we talk on a pretty much a regular basis, and the other ones were friends. And some of the friends, like Tom Plowman, will be coming up shortly. Tom was a close friend of mine through high school, and I knew his family very well, and it brought us closer together. And we hung around all through high school and a little while after school, and then I went to college, and I didn't see him for a while. And when I came back and got into Zango, I said, this might be a gentleman that would do well, and he has. And
let's go with that. So this is Kim Tecklin, who's on his way to early retirement from a job he will not have to think about too long to leave once he's able, as well, just like your wife. This is a picture of Tom Plowman, and I'll let you kind of give an introduction because you guys have a lot more history together than I do with Tom.
Yeah, Tom's a great guy. He's he's just amazing. He's one I call him a crazy genius, and he kind of dabbles in just about anything, woodworking to computers, and he's just a great guy. I've learned a lot from Tom. He's he's just one of those likable guys, and he likes to play a lot of tricks on me. I guess that's why I like him so much. But he's a good guy, and he's energetic, and he's got a great story. I mean, for a gentleman who left a great construction business to do Zango full time, he's got a great head on his shoulders. So,
Tom, you there?
You bet, I'm here.
Okay, well, Tom, when Kim brought up Zango to you, did he bring it up as a product or as a business?
Product. Actually, Kim had gotten my parents on it, and I call my mom every day, and she's had a lot of health issues all her life, and every day she kept telling me, "Oh, I'm feeling better, and this is going away, and that." And I kept thinking, "What, Mom, that's never happened in your entire life." And so finally, I said, "Well, what are you doing?" And she said, "Well, I'm drinking this juice." And I go, "Yeah, whatever, Mom, And she goes, "Well, Kim gave it to us." So finally one day I had to go over there and check it out myself, and sure enough, both Mom and Dad were having some fascinating results drinking this juice. So I like to stay healthy myself, and I do a lot of biking, and I get involved in these century rides, these 100-mile bike rides and stuff. So I'm always looking for an edge at my age, and I thought, well, if it's doing this for my parents, it certainly can't hurt me. So that's kind of how I got started in it, just from a health standpoint.
And I remember coming to your house, and parents were there, and we were doing a house party, and it was one of the major emotional moments of Zango for me, especially at that stage. We were talking, and your dad was describing what had happened so far, and he said Zango gave him, this is the only thing they've had that's given them back hope, because they said when you get to a certain age and you have a certain amount of health problems, it just seems like you're just waiting for the next health problem, and you're going in the wrong direction constantly, and you don't ever think it's ever going to change. And it's just a matter of how much worse is it going to get.
Correct.
And knowing the miraculous turnaround that they had both had in their health, it was just like the room, you could heard a pin drop when he was saying this, because so that was a really neat story. So one of the things I want to bring up is, so it came in from a total product perspective, which in our group is not at all uncommon.
Sure.
But you've had your own business for how long?
Well, actually, I've been in business about 30 years, my own business. So. And
so somewhere along the line, you went from this is good juice that can help me bike better, et cetera, to this is a good business. What happened in there? What made you think of that?
Well, I became fascinated with the juice and started looking into it a little bit more, and actually started going to events, which I have to encourage everyone to do, because they totally change how you look at this. And I started seeing people who were successful, and being a business person, that's intriguing to see people actually make the kind of money they're making with this juice. So that caught my interest enough to start entertaining it a little more on taking it serious. But it really wasn't until last fall that I really wanted to know for sure if it was really a legitimate business. And I actually made an appointment and went over and talked to Tony Shevchuk, and who was also a former business person. I figured, hey, if I can talk to a fellow businessman who's gone into this, I'd have a little more reassurance. And I had a great conversation with Tony, and I think it was at that point I decided I think this is something I really want to do. So I kind of took it from there. And
you are you're well on your way to 20K. It's kind of a technicality at this point. You're easily the volume and almost everything's there. But so you switched to from kind of thinking this might be pretty good to very serious commitment. You started downscaling your business you've had for your whole life, and because of that, now your group is in massive growth mode, and you have all kinds of things happening. And I think a lot of it has to do with the shift in commitment you brought to the table when you
Correct.
switched gears last fall.
Correct. And the really amazing thing is I didn't actually realize how hard I worked in my conventional business until I quit doing it, and which was a pleasant change of events for me, and I'm glad it happened because I got a lot more to look forward to now. And the big thing with a business standpoint is with Zango, your membership fee, and you buy a couple cases of juice, and you've got a business. And my past business, I had to bring $40,000 a month into the shop without materials just to get to zero each month, and before I could make some money. And you go a month, or you get a couple of weeks in there where you're not making anything, or you get 20. Well, now you got to make an extra 20 the next month, and you're always fighting that. And you got workman's comp and insurances and the building, and your competition, your everything. Your employees, did they show up, or you got to rework. So it's just that constant headache. And when they go home at night, you're stuck there, and thinking about how you're going to make ends meet tomorrow. And that's just a relief not to have that part of my life anymore. So it's pretty enjoyable.
An interesting perspective that you told me a while back that I guess we hadn't talked about it, and I don't think I've had that conversation with too many people. Just share a little bit about what you said about the social side of Zango.
Oh, yeah. Well, being in business, I worked hard and long hours. 60, 80-hour weeks were the norm. And doing that, you weren't really social. You weren't a social person. I was stuck in my shop, and, of course, I'd come home at night. I'd go in like 4 in the morning. I'd get home late at night, and, if my wife wanted to do something, I never felt like doing it, so we just didn't do anything. I wasn't even on a bowling league or anything, And so you kind of get out of circulation. And so Zango kind of forced me to be a people person, which at first was a little tough for me. But the personal development side of the business, I think, is just outstanding. And now, that's probably the thing I enjoy most is just the people side of it. So.
Well, you're certainly have stepped up your game, and you're totally taking leadership, and you're just doing an awesome job. So thanks for making the transition, because you're a valuable asset to the team for sure.
No problem. So, thank you for all your help.
Now, the person that Tom talked to help him get a feel for if he was making a good choice to scale down his business is someone who had done the same. However, not in his upline. And one of the things that we have going on in our team is we have a lot of communication and sharing and help going on within cross-line organizations, and we have a lot of team players. And Tony Shevchuk is certainly one of them. Tony, are you on?
I'm here, yes.
Tony came in to this fairly early. I'll just say it this way. Tony's owned a business longer than I've been breathing on the planet, so he came to the table with a lot of years under his belt of the good, the bad, and the ugly from the traditional business world. But Tony, you came along and you saw this and had some benefits from the product, but you kind of were looking at this from the standpoint of this looks like an intriguing business early on, correct?
That's true, but we have to address this picture on the right first. I don't know how you got that. You're not supposed to have that. That was my morning getaway in Thailand. Took the mangosteen fruit out of the room while my wife was sleeping yet, and I was going to get the chance to eat them all up before she got up. Somebody got a picture here, and I don't know how that happened, but
I know it's true.
We're going to have to get rid of that before she sees that.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll make a note.
So okay. This is something that's obviously has changed our life completely. As you mentioned, I have been in business a long time, and if there's anyone in business that sees this business model, it's a no-brainer. When you think about business and you think about the things that you put into a business, as Tom just alluded to, and I was getting nervous here because all of my notes that I have, Tom started to dig into. but in a business, you look at it. First of all, a large investment versus when I saw this business model. You work out of your home, which you already own. You drive to places of doing business with a car that you already own, and most people in most homes have a computer. And with a telephone, along with the computer, you're in business, and you can operate day and night or however you want to. We can go on vacation, and we just got back from California, and with our computer and our phone, we're doing business while we're there and enjoying it, and we get our friendly Uncle Sam to help us pay for the trip, which is pretty nice.
Hey Tony, one quick thing on that.
Yeah.
While you were in Thailand, your group actually was growing while you were there on vacation, and you hit 1,000 distributors while you were gone from home, right?
Yeah, in fact, we got up one morning and they have a computer up in the lobby. Flipped it on, and wow, we just went over 1,000 people. So we do have a picture that I have in frame of the picture of the computer screen of that morning, showing that we had just hit 1,000 people in our group. So that was kind of exciting. And while we're on vacation, how can we have it any better? In going back to the business model of owning a business, and if there's business owners here that are in the phone audience and are thinking about this, think about some of the things that you have. The investment, and when you look deeper, you've got employees and trucks and inventory and insurance and liabilities and salaries and withholding, and the list goes on. And then you look at this business model, and with the bare minimum, things that we already live with, that we own, we can make many, many times more dollars than you can working, as Tom said, 60, 80 hours a week, and do it right out of our home. Plus, enjoy it. When I first looked at this, as in every one that you heard this evening, we looked at the product. As you can see, I'm up and a little older than most of the people. In fact, my downline, Dr. Jason, or my upline, I should say, Dr. Jason and Eric, are both younger than a couple of my children. And I'm thinking, when I first looked at it, again, I got off track here. We looked at the product. We looked at it, what it could do for ourselves and people that we knew, because in our age group, when you get together with friends and relatives, most of them talk about the different medications they're on and all the aches and pains they have, And I'm drinking the juice, and the arthritis and the pain that I had in my back and shoulders and neck is gone, and that's been gone now for 3+ years.
So when you look at that, Tony, you were never successful or hadn't been a previous success story kind of guy in network marketing. However, you came into this and you went 20K in 6 weeks, and you actually caused me. I never was a 20K because you never were a 5K, so you skipped 5K, caused me to skip 20K, and I went straight from a 5K to Premier when you went from a 1K to a 20K.
Yeah. All you young guys had a lot of time to do that. I didn't. I needed to get in here and get it going, get it done. And, we're far from done. We're just starting. We're just having a ball.
So what caused you, so outside of, you had mentioned one time you're at this stage of life where, you could start throttling down, and you've certainly, done some things, and, financially it's not like you necessarily needed to do a different business. What caused you to want to do this versus just kind of scale back what you're doing and sell it off and just retire?
Well, I saw a couple things. One, when I first started in business, and before I was first out of school, out of high school, I worked in factories, and that didn't last very long. And I took an insurance sales job, and I worked for a large organization, and I loved the recognition, and I loved the being a part of something bigger, and have the opportunity, as they did, for incentives. They gave us trips to Hawaii and stuff like that. And when I saw this organization and when I had a chance to go to first convention, the big picture, what there's really here, anybody that, and especially if you're looking at retirement and you can't think that way, you don't want anything to do with it, and you see this opportunity, man, you want to be a part of it. Wild horses couldn't have dragged me away from what I could see and what I could feel, and just the opportunity. And of course, being in business and fighting for business all your life, and then doing this, it's not work. It's a social club that pays you for being social and spreading the good word to people. So
that's a
how can you have it better?
That's a good phrase. It's a social club that pays big.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, and any of the guests on, we can chime through this. I want to so those are some of the stories of success that have happened in our team. One common denominator you can probably hear is a lot of them, what caught their interest and got them to stay around long enough until the business became real was the product. Now, that's not necessarily always the case, and some people are very successful doing it another way, but the business side of Zango is easy to see when you have a realization that the product is absolutely fantastic, and it makes the business make sense when you understand that the product is what it is. And so was certainly the pattern in the stories we had here. But here's some common things you'll see in Zango success stories for the most part in the whole company, certainly on the call tonight. And here's some things you want to look for. Check yourself. Are these things in place for you? And are they in place with the people you're working with? I think one of the biggest mistakes we can make is spending too much time with the wrong people and not enough time with the right people. And sometimes it's because we don't have the right people yet. Sometimes we don't know what that looks like to look for the right people. It's kind of the secret ingredient to this thing is being the right person yourself and then finding the right people and working with them. One is ownership of Zango as a business model. Belief in what we do as a business side, not just a product side. 2, belief in the product. That I think if someone's pursuing this from a business-first approach, my experience has been it's rare that someone can really wholeheartedly pursue the business side of this until the product becomes real and relevant to them, that it's important. And that usually happens with experiences, which means you have to get the juice out. And all these examples tonight, and most of the examples you talk to and you hear the story behind the story, they got the product out there on a fairly urgent timetable. The stories started coming in, it poured gas on the fire, and the business became that much more exciting to talk about. And the more excited you are about what you have and the more convicted you are that it matters and it's going somewhere, success breeds success. And whether it's a product standpoint or the business standpoint. Took action with a sense of urgency. We have, the attractiveness of moving fast brings people in. People want to be a part of something that people don't want to miss out. People want what they can't have. If your train's moving fast, people want to get on. And 5K in 6 weeks, 20K in 6 weeks, that's urgency. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens with taking action. And massive action is driven by a feeling of urgency. And with all that we have going on in Zango with upcoming Glimpse and the international expansion, if there isn't a reason to be urgent now, we need to pop a Red Bull and take a walk around the block or something, because I'm losing sleep now more than I ever have in this thing. There's a strong reason to build, whether that was just purely they wanted to be a part of something special. For some people, that's a driving force enough to make them want to do it. All the way to debt or change of lifestyle or change of their future or their ability to earn an income in a different way. There's always a strong reason behind the scenes. Paying off credit card bills and having a little fun money doesn't cut it when it gets tough. So that's usually what you got to look for, and you have to find that. And I don't know that people have it right away. I think a lot of times people have to get some points in the board. They have to taste a little success before they allow themselves to open up their heart and dream a little bit to get to the real stuff. And so I don't go looking for that right away up front, But after a little time has gone by, and they should be able to sense that this is real, and it's safe to dream here, as Joe Morton says. Then you got to start looking for a dream. You got to start digging in there and looking for where's some substance we can grab onto here to really go for it. And you have to be coachable. Tony, as an example, Tony had a lot of years of success in his business. Tom Plowman, obviously if you're in business for 30, 40 years, you've done something right. But it doesn't mean that you know how to do this. This is different. Someone could have succeeded wildly in any other kind of business, but this is its own little unique world. And it was kind of strange to me, actually, that I sponsored Tony, and Tony was looking for me for direction. And I'm thinking, okay, I should be looking for him for direction just based on business experience. But in this, I was a few steps ahead, and he was able to follow along, and that coachability factor is always in play.
Well, I take the credit for Eric being being such a good teacher. He was forced to be.
Yeah, I was scared. I was like, whoa, all these people are coming in. We got to get going. Building with momentum and expectation of success. An expectation of success and urgency create momentum. Momentum then breeds on itself to create more momentum, and it becomes a self-fulfilling deal. Here's an example of momentum. The 4 people who qualified me to be a 200K all came in this business in the first 120 days or less, most of them within 90. And most of their key people came in back then. And what we did in that first 6 months that momentum has kept going for now. This is the beginning, is April 2005, so it was 3 years ago that this was just starting. And the momentum has carried us on in spite of none of us have ever had success in network marketing before. There isn't a member on our team that has made it into the big game, so to speak, or this is grassroots. We're doing it with people who just are willing to work and have some heart and want to work together as a team sport. And the momentum is the secret ingredient that you can create. Servant leadership, commitment to the team. That's, you can't replace that, and that's a lot of times something hard to coach. It's kind of either that's someone's character or it's not, and but it's important and it's critical. Convention and events. 8 different distributorships joined me at the first convention in our 7th month in the business, fall of 2005. And today, all but one of them is a 20K or above in the business. So that's not coincidence. And here we have an Orlando Regional coming up. We got convention in the fall. There's going to be some things happening at those that you do not want to miss, over and above the normal things that happen at a convention. There's going to be some exciting new things that'll be never before, never again in the Zango story, and you'll want to be there for a lot of reasons, to get educated and have that little something in you. We build very local, my group, and I think the advantage to that is that it's when you go to events and something gets in you, and if the majority of communication is nonverbal, then it has to do with what's coming out of you. But if you don't have the thing in you that needs to come out, it's kind of hard for it to come out. And there's things that will get in you that affect you that will change this forever for you that you cannot get any other way but going to convention. And that's the one common denominator of success between everyone who's at levels that everyone wants to aspire to in Zango is these big events are non-negotiables. And regarding our story and the stories tonight, this is building with warm market example. The vast majority of every success story in my team has come through some sort of a relationship. And some people are able to build relationships quickly, but a lot of them are based on old relationships with people that they knew. And it's not necessarily family, but certainly friends, acquaintances, and people in your sphere of influence where those come from. So that's kind of some common things that we've seen over time that you can kind of take to the bank. If those ingredients are in place, you've got something real going on for yourself. You're in a great position. If you look at those 9 things and you kind of make check marks in your own heart, that's for you. You're in good hands, and you're positioning yourself. Here's what I say about that: if you've got those things in place, and your title's not yet where you want it to be, and your check isn't where you want it to be, it's a matter of your check has to catch up with you because you're there. Okay, you can you have to put yourself ahead of it, and you let your success catch up with you. You have to lead with your heart first and get yourself to the place where you're worthy of it. You have to lead like a premier long before you are one. If you're a 1K, start being committed to your team and leading your team like you're a 20K or a premier, because that's how you're going to get there, because they need to know that you can lead them to the promised land. And when you're brand new and you're not quite sure yourself, that's why you use your upline, because your upline knows where they're going, and that feeling will be transferred to your group and to you, and sooner or later then you'll be the issue for your own group. So those are just kind of a perspective you want to be looking at. It's certainly not a comprehensive list, but I think it's a pretty reliable list that are certainly some of the elements that need to be there as you look at people that you want to be working with in the future. So we're up against the clock. We had too much fun talking. So, hey, I want to thank all you guys. Love you guys. You guys are the heart and soul of a lot of what's going on, and you guys already know that. So I appreciate all you guys, and thanks for sharing your heart. Hopefully some people were able to pick up some things from you guys, and thanks for being willing to put it out there.
Thanks for the opportunity, Eric.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
All right. We'll say goodnight, everyone. We'll open up the lines, and we'll have some fun. Well, by the way, next time I'll be back to the normal overview webinar, and we might do this on occasion, just kind of highlight different things that are going on, just to kind of give the other side of the equation that's not the basic Zango story. So we'll kind of take it from there and have some fun. We'll catch up with you guys soon, and I'll see a lot of you guys in Orlando. Make sure you come and say hi to all the people you just saw, because now you know what they look like, so you can say, hey, I saw you. So anyway, have a good night, and we'll talk to you guys soon.